On this episode of That One Movie Podcast, we are going to review Netflix's They Cloned Tyrone. Of course, we'll start off spoiler-free, then we'll warn you before we dive into spoilers. Before that, though, we are going to discuss this week's news from the world of entertainment, including but not limited to Wonder Woman 3. Not happening, Holden. I know you were looking forward to it. It's not happening, despite reports from last week.
Wonder Woman 1985.
Yeah, there we go. Speaking of sequels that will happen, though, Talk to Me Part 2, Talk to Me. Sounds like it is confirmed from A24. Also, Disney Plus is joining along with Netflix in the password crackdown. What does that mean going forward? We'll talk about that. Of course, we'll also talk about the new trailer for Peacock's John Wick spinoff miniseries called The Continental. That had a trailer, so we'll talk about that. As always, use the time codes down in the description to jump to whatever topic you want to hear about. And with that being said, I am Jimmy Youthy.
I'm Holden Sutter.
And it's time for TOMP.
That One Movie Podcast.
TOMP.
All right, Jimmy, before we talk about They Cloned Tyrone, let's do the TOMs.
Let's do the TOMs.
The TOMs. TOMs is the rapid fire segment in which we rate the news from the week in the world of entertainment on a scale of 3 mildly famous TOMs: Brokaw, Bombadil, and Bergeron.
Very good. We did really well with the signs, so you not so much with saying it.
No, I flubbed it a bit. We'll get it next week.
We'll get it one of these times. Just a quick shout out to those of you, over 200 of you who tuned into our TMNT Mutant Mayhem review on YouTube. This last week. We appreciate you. Thanks for coming back. Some of you, hopefully.
Yeah, we appreciate it. But Brokaw's the highest, Bombadil's the lowest, and gosh dang it, Bergeron somewhere in between. Jimmy,
I'll focus on the signs. You focus on the rating.
Okay,
how about that? We both have the signs.
There we go.
We rate the news.
We'll do that next time. We'll get it right sometime. But Jimmy, first for TOMs, let's talk about the Continental trailer.
Yes.
The spinoff series.
Continental Drift.
Yes. This is the spinoff John Wick kind of prequel series focusing on the Continental Hotel and the character Winston when he's younger in the 70s. Jimmy, what do you think of this trailer?
I don't know if it really sold me on the series. I like the fact that it's a 3-episode thing. Like it's just a contained thing, and then that's it.
Yeah.
So that
just
part,
have an idea of what they need and what they want.
That part looks good. Obviously, it's not a movie, so some of the effects look quite good, and some of them just don't.
Yeah.
In the trailer, I don't. This could be very different in the show, but the lead actor just seemed really flat to me in the trailer.
He doesn't have Ian McShane's charisma, really.
At least not in the trailer,
not
right?
In the trailer.
I mean, it might be different in the context of the series overall, so you got to give it a chance first. But I just thought like the lines seem very generic. Of course, they brought we're gonna need guns, lots of guns. Of course, they brought that. I don't know. It didn't move the needle for me into wanting to watch the series because I'm already on the fringe. I'm still on the fringe. It's a wait and see for me. I'm probably not gonna watch it unless I hear it's incredible. That's where I'm at with this trailer so far. How about you, Holden?
Yeah, we got Mel Gibson in the trailer,
just randomly
in it. I guess is the main bad guy, it seems. So that's interesting. Yeah, it didn't really move the needle much for me. I was probably going to watch it anyway, just because I do really like John Wick, and
you have Peacock for whatever reason.
I do have Peacock, so might as well make use of it every once in a while.
What are you watching on Peacock these days? You're watching The Office again? You're watching Parks and Rec?
I just finished Twisted Metal. That was on there.
Okay.
Yeah, really, aside from like Poker Face and that, they really haven't had any originals that have interested me. But now we have the Continental. The action looks pretty interesting. We'll see. I mean, I'm sure it won't be John Wick level, but I'm not really expecting it to be. If it's at least interesting, that'll be good enough for me in that regard.
I don't know. I think I need the John Wick level action for this to justify its existence, but I just don't see it delivering it. And I wouldn't have seen any like 3-part miniseries being able to deliver it anyway. So the lore is not enough for me.
Sure.
to get me to want to watch this. We'll see. And I'm just not convinced by the trailer so far, but I could be convinced by some positive reviews. So I'm at a Tom Bergeron, our middle rating. Holden, for this.
For the trailer itself, I'll give it a Bergeron as well, even though I will probably still watch the series. So.
Yeah.
Unless it's really bad.
There you go.
But next up, Jimmy, Wonder Woman 3. Last week we just talked about how Gal Gadot had said that she was making Wonder Woman 3. She had talked
said
to
James Gunn and I talked about it and said Dub Trace is confirmed.
Yes. And you had brought up last week that we had already been hearing things that might not be, but this week it sounds like it's officially probably not happening. Both Variety and Collider had their anonymous sources say that despite her recent comments, it is not happening. Neither James Gunn nor any other DC person has made an official comment on the matter. Gal Gadot hasn't said anything since her initial claim. So it's probably not happening.
At least she's got that Netflix movie that came out.
Yeah.
What is that one called again?
Hearts of Stone or
Heart
something?
of Stone. Yeah, that's right.
Apparently not very good.
Heart of Spades.
Yeah.
So Gal Gadot is going to be fine. She's still, I just want to see that Cleopatra movie.
Yeah, she's got that Cleopatra movie. She's in the new Snow White.
Oh, she is. Huh?
She's the evil queen, I guess.
Oh, wow. Playing the villain.
Yeah. So that'll be interesting from her.
I don't like you, Snow White. That's my Gal Gadot impersonation.
That's pretty
good. Look, Wonder Woman 84 was atrocious. So, Bergeron.
Yeah.
I mean, I still like Gal Gadot. I mean, Gal Gadot has her haters of her Wonder Woman. I just don't think the writing has given her much to do.
Yeah. The whole Snyderverse just I don't think really gave her the right writing in terms of that character. The first Wonder Woman movie's all right, but that second one, it's just.
I've only seen the first one once. I just remember it kind of falling apart for me in the third act.
Yeah, no, it definitely did. I mean, I think the big thing is it's kind of a retread of the first Captain America in a lot of ways, except set in World War I, of course. But yeah, I don't know. I'm just interested to see, despite the fact some people are angry about this, I'm still interested to see what James Gunn has in store. Maybe she'll come back at some point. I just don't think it's in the cards right now. I mean, we got his whole phase 1 or chapter 1, whatever slate, and Wonder Woman's not in there. So potentially it could be down the line. We'll see. But
look, there's always room for a multiverse movie.
Yeah, there is. Yeah. But yeah, Bergeron, I think we're good with that. Next up, Jimmy, Talk to Me.
Talk to me.
Yeah, last week we had talked about how the directors, the Philippou brothers, had said they wanted to make a sequel, and now it looks like they are making a sequel.
There we go.
A24 announced it by posting a thing on their social media, and they did in the graphic it did sit listed as Talk to Me. I feel like that's a dumb idea for a name. I mean, it's
to
funny,
talk
but
to me.
Yeah. I feel like it's just confusing if you just call it Talk to Me, but also at the same time it's kind of funny. So
I want it to be To Talk to Me.
Yeah, To Talk to Me.
That's what I'm going to call it from here on out. This is a broke off for me because I liked that first one.
Yes.
If you have not listened to our review of it on this podcast,
or if you haven't
seen
it.
Or if you haven't seen
it,
go see it and then listen to our review. Or listen to our non-spoiler review first, then go see it, and then come back, see it, and there we the double the views, double the watch time, baby.
We like that.
Broke off for me. Liked that one a lot. The Philippou brothers, the Philibros. The Philibros.
That's what we'll call them from now on.
Rocker, whatever they're called on YouTube. They talked about how they have a whole universe basically already created, in that the first movie was just a glimpse into all this stuff they've already have written all out and fleshed out. So the ideas seemingly are there. The stories to be told. It's not this did pretty well, let's make another one. It's we have all these ideas and this did well.
Yeah.
So let's make another one. So it's a broke off from me. Holden.
Very exciting.
Let's talk about something that might not be a little bit of a broke here.
Sure.
Let's talk about Disney Plus and Hulu cracking down on passwords.
Yeah. So obviously earlier this year, Netflix has started cracking down on password sharing. That's a big controversial move. And it looks like Disney Plus and Hulu are going to be the next ones. Bob Iger said in a and a call saying that they're going to be starting sometime next year. Didn't really give a window, just 2024.
And he said, but it was all Bob Chapek's idea.
Yeah,
so
it
if
was
you're
all
mad,
his.
be mad at him,
Not
the
mine.
former CEO.
But the news was also accompanied by the update that both services are apparently having price hikes. I didn't write down all of the tiers, but the ad-free tiers for both Disney Plus is going to be $13.99, Hulu is going to be $17.99, which is like about a $3 increase. Both.
No, at least.
Yeah, I think it's $3.
$3, yeah. Well, Disney Plus was $6.99.
Yeah, initially,
and then it was $7.99, and they just did the price increase.
I wrote down here that it was less than 1 year since the previous price hike.
Again, here's an idea. How about instead of charging more from your consumers, how about you don't spend money on stuff that will not attract viewership or that's just not good? And how about you don't spend $200 million on Secret Invasion?
Yeah, on a show that does not need that much money. It's weird that they're saying both of these at the same time, because like already one is going to have some people, angry, I'm apprehensive about it, but they're like, password sharing is being cracked down on. Also, you can't share passwords, and we're increasing your money. Like,
mine is two birds with one stone, Holden. You just want to get it all out now. Like, hey, look, we're cracking down on passwords, and we're increasing the price. It's like, oh man, I don't know. Think of something. You just got robbed of all your money, but also, your car broke down. I don't know. I'm trying to think of two bad things to happen.
I can't see this I can't see this helping, especially Disney Plus, at all. Because I feel like so many people are already on the edge about getting it. And sure, you have families that there's a ton of kids content or whatever. They'll probably still get it. But the Disney Plus original shows are already so iffy for so many people.
I disagree, Holden. I think you're completely out of the loop on this one. I think Disney Plus is the one that people have. And if for families and stuff, just because it's just all there, all that kids content that they can just turn on. And I don't think the price is going to change that.
Are you sure? Even with password sharing?
I do think
all
so.
Right.
I think they're just going to, they'll lose accounts, obviously, but their bottom line is only going to increase, just like Netflix's bottom line is only increased since they did the crackdown. I mean, as a streaming service business model, it makes sense to crack down on passwords.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know.
They looked literally, Netflix did this and made money. They didn't lose any money. So Disney's like, well, now we don't have to be the first ones to break through that, the trenches here. Let all the Netflix just bear the brunt of that. And now we see they tested it out for us. We see that they made a bunch of money off of it. So let's just do the same thing now because we know we can get away with it. So
it makes sense. I guess for me, I'm like, Netflix seems more ubiquitous. And that's why I think, to me, that's why it works
certainly
for them.
Among our demographic, yes. But I think you have to, we are not everybody.
Well, I know.
And you zoom out.
Well, that's
Disney
I acknowledged the families earlier, but I don't know.
Acknowledge the families, Holden.
I don't know. To me, I'm not sure it will work out as well as you think.
Okay. Well, we'll see what the numbers are. We'll see. I'm obviously. I mean, it stinks. But,
regardless,
it makes
it's a
sense
abominable for me.
For them, I would rather them, just run their business well. So. But that is too much to ask of streaming services.
Yeah. They'll just keep spending more money on these shows that no one cares about, and then we'll suffer for it. Jimmy, next up on news, the 2023 Emmys a couple weeks ago, we said they were delayed indefinitely. Now they're going to be January 7th, 2024. The fact that it's right beginning of the year seems to be I think the hope is that the strike is done by the end of the year, which is kind
Christmas time.
Yeah, that's what people the executives seem to be hoping for. So if that is the case, then actors and writers would be able to attend the Emmys. We'll see if it is over by then. We'll see.
Then they can go, oh well, we'll have to delay the Emmys again because of these striking workers. Aren't you all so sad? Because you're all eagerly anticipating the Emmys.
Yeah, no one cares. I mean, you're already going to have no one care if the Oscars gets delayed, but even less people will care about the Emmys.
Yeah. Although a lot of people are Succession and
people are interested to see who wins, but I don't think it's like anyone at the edge of their seat. Like, I need to know who wins the Emmys right now.
I need to know. Bob Odenkirk's like, well, Succession's already going to steamroll me. So
it's just prolonging the inevitable for
Kieran
him.
Culkin might want to know.
That's true.
You know.
Yeah, I'm sure there's actors that want to know if they won an Emmy, but whatever. I'm sure getting fair pay is more important. You know.
Yeah. Oh, then I better go on strike for this podcast.
Yeah. Right. Need to get
there we
more
go.
fair pay.
Whatever. This is nothing news. Bergeron.
Yeah, I'll give it a Bergeron as well.
Woo the Emmys.
Yeah, woo the Emmys.
Woo the Emmys.
Woo the Emmys. Jimmy, there's a new Amazon series in the works called The Franchise. It promises to follow the crew of an unloved franchise movie as they fight for their place in a savage and unruly cinematic universe. The series promises to shine a light on the secret chaos of superhero filmmaking, ultimately posing the question of how exactly the cinematic sausage gets made. As the synopsis teases, every F-up has an origin story. It's going to be starring Himesh Patel, who starred in the movie Yesterday and who was also in Tenet, and Aya Cash, who was Stormfront on The Boys. And the showrunners are Armando Iannucci, who is apparently one of the leads behind Veep, and John Brown, who was one of the writers on Succession. Are going to be the current showrunners. Sam Mendes is also executive producing and directing the pilot, as well as possibly directing some other episodes.
And for our listeners, Sam Mendes has done what, Holden?
He's done a couple of the James Bond movies. He did 1917.
He did Casino Royale, right?
No, he did Skyfall and Spectre.
Ooh, 1 for 2.
Yeah. But so yeah, he's got a track record and everything. What do you think of this? Does this sound interesting to you, Jimmy?
It sounds interesting. It reminds me, what was that one movie? Did it come out like during COVID about like them making this?
The COVID movie, Bubble.
The Bubble. I never did see it.
Yeah,
it just kind of
Netflix.
it kind of reminds me of that. I don't think anybody saw.
Apparently,
that
it was bad.
Yeah,
So, yeah, it does kind of remind me of that. I think the people behind this make it more interesting for me. You have, the showrunners of a couple or people that are involved in a couple very, successful series, very critically acclaimed series, as well as Sam Mendes, who's a accomplished director. So I think it's interesting.
Yeah,
sounds cool.
It sounds interesting. I will go Bergeron. It's not a must watch for me just based on this premise, but if it's good,
I'll give it a Brokaw.
If it's good, I'll finally see it 4 years from now.
Yeah, when it eventually comes out. It's interesting that like Amazon is like they're really into this whole like just cracking down on the superhero like satire stuff. I mean, they have The Boys, they have Invincible. I'll talk about it in What Are You Doing? But I'm a Virgo also feeds into that. They just have a lot of all this stuff. It's very cool. But
yeah.
Go-to place for superhero movie satires, I guess.
Yeah, there you go.
And then the last piece of Tom's I have is that the Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse digital release came out, and it's been kind of making waves online because it's had a lot of changes. And I don't remember if we talked about when this was initially
there were multiple versions in the theaters at the same time, which is strange.
Yeah, it's not exactly clear why that was, but now that there's a digital release, as a lot of people predicted, it kind of made a definitive version with a lot of minor and odd differences. And there is a whole list you can find online. I'm not going to go through the whole thing. Some lines of dialogue, just like a few like broad examples, some lines of dialogue were removed. The scene where the one that was the most interesting to me, and I guess spoilers for Across the Spider-Verse, but the scene towards the end of the movie where Miles figures out he's in the wrong dimension seems to play out like quite a bit differently than I think the one that we saw. And there's some like weird animation differences in the scenes. Some of them seem to be ones that I remember us having in the theater. Some are like different from what I remember. So it's just this really weird thing and there's not like, as far as I can tell, any special features that have like the alternate versions in it or anything. I don't know. It's just this bizarre thing that's like first of its kind. What do you think of this, Jimmy?
I don't know what to think of this. Is this like a marketing thing? Like, oh, this movie's different, go buy it and see it sort of deal? Or is it like the makers of the movie are just like, we wanted to make this change and we didn't have time to do it because we were all crunching so hard?
Yeah.
And now we're making this change because we actually think it was better. And it's like, I don't know. Is it a little, it could be both. I have no idea. This is we've never seen something really like this.
No.
Like not this close to a theatrical release. I mean, obviously you have like the Star Wars special editions or your remastered, but you know, or director's cut of the movie like later on with like Blade Runner. But this is just like the first
So
time it's
weird.
released that, and having the multiple versions in theaters and it's just bizarre. It's bizarre. It's weird from the outside looking in. I would love to be a fly in the room of to determine or to find out why the heck
What
this is
changes
happening.
they wanted. And
I wonder if there's some reporters out there trying to dig up what the heck is going on.
I wouldn't be surprised if we get like a big kind of report about this at some point. But it's the prevailing theory. I seem to be saying once again, this is just a theory, but like. Is that like because obviously the development or like the production time in between the last movie and this one, 5 years, but there's a lot to do. That like maybe they were just working up right until the very last minute, and like some versions of the movie had like certain changes that went out, and then some like that went out a little bit later had other changes.
It's like a video game where it's like day one patch update.
Exactly.
thing.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, there were like obviously we know about the patch, the patch to the movie that was like
The sound,
fixed the sound. So yeah, I wonder if that's it. Just they're like,
It's just weird because it's a good movie.
Yeah,
too. Like
it
it's
is.
a banger of a movie, and they keep changing it. Bizarre.
and there are a few of the changes that I feel like, you know, maybe would add to the movie a bit. There's a few that I'm like, maybe this isn't as good. I don't know. I mean, most of them don't seem to be like changing the trajectory of the movie or anything, of course, but it's just bizarre. I don't know. What do you give this?
I don't. It's just weird that they haven't like announced why.
Yeah,
It's
There
just
hasn't
unannounced. It doesn't even be like, oh, it is.
there
changed.
hasn't
It's just-
been like much official acknowledgement as far as I can tell.
I don't know. I guess a Bergeron just because we don't know exactly.
Yeah, I think I'm with you on that. It's
Strange.
yeah, I mean, it took people like weeks to figure it out. I remember this was like 4 or 5 weeks after it came out. People started noticing like, oh, like this version I saw in theaters is a little bit different than this other one. So like I don't know, it's bizarre.
Why is his name Kyle's Corrales?
Why is Peter Parker the main character of this one? Yeah, it's just like
Maybe
I
it's
don't
to
know.
make us all think that we're in. It's this movie's from another universe. This movie.
It kind of feels like a real life like actual Mandela effect thing where it's like, oh, now we actually have a reasoning behind it. Where like I'm sure that's maybe how it started. Like someone saw a movie one place that had like a slight difference, and then they go to a different place, see the movie again, and they're like, I could have sworn it was different.
Yeah,
And,
that
like,
Sony Pictures is just gaslighting
yeah,
all
that's
of us.
what it is. Yeah, that is what it feels like. But
Strange,
it
bizarre.
is bizarre. I don't know, and we'll see. I'm kind of I kind of want to see like a special feature at some point that has all the differences, but I don't know. We'll see.
Well, speaking of weird, strange, and bizarre, Holden, a movie podcast talking about video games. That's
Yeah,
right. It's time
occasionally.
for that one gaming podcast, our TOGP famous segment. Rolls off the tongue.
Yeah, just a couple quick things. First off, Red Dead Redemption is getting like kind of a the first one, getting a slight remaster coming to PS4, not PS5, from what I saw, and Nintendo Switch.
Yeah. My understanding that it's just essentially a port.
Yeah, it's very minor differences from what I like. Obviously, trophy support updated with that. I think
That's good for you, Holden.
Yeah, but
Except you don't like Rockstar games.
Yeah, I
'Cause
would
you're
not
weird.
I would not want to try to platinum this. Have you played the first one? I can't
No,
remember.
I have not. It was my cousin's favorite video game though. Growing
Are you
up.
gonna
So
play
I
it now that
played
it's ported?
parts of it. Not for $50 on the
That's
PS4.
right. That's $50. I didn't write that down.
No. Is it 60 frames per second? If it's
I
not
don't think it
60
is.
If it's not, no way.
I think that was part of the like the thing I was saying was like it's still locked at like 30 or something.
I'm more
which is
likely to
insane.
take my old MacBook Pro back there that still has an Intel processor and putting Windows on it and
playing it that way.
Because no way, man.
No, it seems so weird. I mean, putting it on Switch, cool. It's been on Xbox for a while because of backwards compatibility and whatnot, and Xbox is very good about that. But yeah, it's $50. Stupid.
That's a bombadil. Especially since like the GTA, when they remastered the GTA collection, it was bad or something.
I think this doesn't seem to be as in depth as that. So, benefit of the doubt, this is just going to be a poorly running version of the original game.
I mean, if they actually remastered it though, that game would just sell so well.
Well, in a few weeks,
oh my gosh,
a few weeks ago, there were like, it was rumored that's what was happening, and obviously this is just what it is. But I saw like leaked listings of like it officially being called Red Dead Redemption Remastered and stuff. And if that's what they went with, it would be way cooler.
Because I would like to play that original game.
Yeah,
honestly.
Since you liked that second one, and the second one's a prequel, so
yeah. So, but yeah, Bombadil for me. Other news here, Holden. Last piece of news.
Yeah, just last piece of news is that they announced there's a new 4-player South Park game coming out called Snow Day. It seems to be, it's like different from the others. It's not RPG focused. It's kind of unclear exactly what the gameplay is going to be like, though. The weird thing about it, though, is it is like 3D.
Oh,
it's not like
not the 2D,
not the 2D
so like
animation from
yeah.
The trailer that was released, it didn't look awful. I was kind of expecting it to look worse. We'll see. I mean, how it looks closer to release. Trey Parker and Matt Stone are still involved. They're voicing all the characters, and I believe they're writing it as well. Just kind of bizarre they're going in this direction.
Yeah, weird.
It is weird.
Are they still going to be 2D though all the time, the characters?
I'm not sure it's made clear by the trailer.
Okay. Is it like a 2.5D thing?
It might be. If that's the case, I don't know why they wouldn't just do 2D. I wonder if it is going to be like full 3D.
I don't know. Well, they have the new intro of the show that's like kind of 3D.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't know. I haven't played the other two yet. I've heard they're good.
They're really good.
They are on PlayStation Plus catalog or something.
Play that after
Horizon Forbidden. Yeah, after I finish that game, that will take me 80 hours. Unbelievable. And I was like, I'm not going to sit and play a game for 80 hours anymore, and now here I am doing it. I'm going to go Bergeron. I mean, wait and see more. I need to at least play one of the other games first, I think. But people like them.
They're really good.
There's another one.
Fun.
I'm excited to hear more about it, I guess.
Yeah. No, Bergeron for me as well. And with that, Jimmy, I believe that's it for Toms and Tog and all of that good stuff. We don't have Tompies this week because
but Popeyes will be mentioned later. So a little tease for you. a little Popeyes tease for you.
We obviously this movie is a Netflix movie, and Jimmy was out of town this weekend, so we just kind of watched it individually. So no Tompies.
No Tompies, but Popeyes will make a guest appearance.
Excited.
So yeah, we prepared for that. Otherwise, we're gonna dive into our non-spoiler, our spoiler-free review of They Cloned Tyrone on Netflix, starting right after this.
All right. They Cloned Tyrone is a new Netflix movie directed by Joel Taylor. This is his directorial debut.
Yes.
Which is pretty crazy. Do you have a synopsis?
I do have a synopsis. Before I read the synopsis, though, I would say just go watch this movie. Like, I literally did not know anything going into this movie, and I quite enjoyed it. And I did too. I really liked it. I figured you would enjoy it because it reminded me of a movie that you really enjoyed. Sorry to Bother You, one of your favorite movies from, what was that?
2018.
2018. Yeah. If you enjoyed Sorry to Bother You, I think you would like this one a lot. If you didn't enjoy Sorry to Bother You, because I know people who really did not like that movie, I still think you might enjoy this movie. I think this one's probably a little bit more palatable than Sorry to Bother You.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah,
it's not as
more
bonkers.
accessible.
But I thought this was a really fun funny, entertaining movie that it's on Netflix. So if you have access to Netflix, I wouldn't recommend checking it out without knowing anything. Now, with that being said, non-spoiler review, I will read the synopsis here, which it looks like it doesn't even give that much away, but still.
Yeah, it looks like it's a
I would still
long.
just go and watch it and just experience it like I did, because that was great, and I think you would enjoy it. So with that being said, here is the synopsis of They Cloned Tyrone on Netflix. A series of eerie events thrust an unlikely trio onto the trail of a nefarious government conspiracy.
Yeah. I mean, it is
There you
true.
go.
That is what it's about. But
so yeah, is it Jewel Taylor or Joel Taylor?
I think it's Joel
Taylor. Okay, so Joel Taylor, he wrote this movie. He co-wrote Creed 2, and he also co-wrote Space Jam: A New Legacy.
Oh,
so,
interesting.
Yeah, he is the top credited writer on Space Jam: A New Legacy, which is a movie I don't hate as much as other people, wrongly or rightly. But I think that movie's not good, but I didn't think it was the worst movie I'd ever seen in my life.
I didn't look into what he had written, but I didn't know Creed 2 and that. But interesting.
I thought this movie was very creative and fun, like pretty much the whole time. I don't think it quite lands everything it tries to do, but
yeah,
it's ambitious, and it was just like it's like they said the premise was started with like the joke like a pimp, a hooker, and a drug dealer like walk into a bar, and then they're like, well, that'll just be our main three characters. And it's like
they make that joke in the movie.
Yeah,
too.
they do, and they make the joke in the movie, but it's like it's like this weird like Scooby-Doo investigation.
It is.
I'll pull up. I read a couple articles about this movie afterwards. So here's what Joel Taylor said were his kind of the film influences. So he said Truman Show and They Live smashed together is kind of how he described it.
We'll talk about it in spoilers, but I didn't even see that, but I got a lot of They Live from this movie, especially towards the end.
Said a little Matrix, a little Manchurian Candidate, Jackie Brown, which is a movie I thought of too, Boogie Nights, The Big Lebowski, Napoleon Dynamite, and It Follows. Other ones, Sorry to Bother You definitely was one that came up to me. There was another movie. Oh, Groundhog Day, I think a little bit.
I mean, in general, like blaxploitation movies from the 70s, which I'm not super familiar with, but the style just oozes that from what little I know of those movies.
Oh, absolutely. It's it feels like part of it's the 70s, but it's also today.
Yeah, it's set in the modern day, but like people are driving like old cars. They're like dressed up in these like outfits that you'd normally associate with the 70s and stuff. It's very interesting.
It's a very unique aesthetic. The film grain is just turned up to 11.
Yeah.
This movie is the grainiest movie I've ever seen in my life. Like they found this movie in a sandbox and had to like clean it off, but they didn't
get all of it.
Yeah, they just they didn't have any like pledge with them, so they just used a dry rag to scrape at it. But it's beautiful. I really like the aesthetic, especially like early on in the film. There's a lot of like neon outside this motel that I think is just gorgeous.
Neon's awesome.
It's a very well lit movie. And we got to talk about the performances of the three lead actors, which are John Boyega as the lead, Jamie Foxx, and then
Teyonah Parris.
Teyonah Parris, she's Captain Rambeau.
Yeah.
Okay, from Marvel. All three of them they're
so good.
Fantastic.
This is one of the most fun, just like lead trios of a movie in a while. Like John Boyega he's very quiet. And he's very kind of like held back, but you get some senses in the movie of when you can just like let loose, and it's very fun. Jamie Foxx is like playing against type here, because I think in some ways, because he's usually like, you think of him as kind of, he plays like a bad like character a lot of the time.
Yeah.
He's very, sure of himself, and here he's just kind of like a pathetic like pimp character.
He's like a pimp past his prime. Like I was the pimp of the year in 1993 or whatever.
Yeah, 1995, I think.
Yeah,
but yeah, he's playing against type in some ways, but he's so entertaining. He's very funny. And Teyonah Parris is great as this like prostitute character she's very funny.
She's hilarious and she's very smart.
Yes, she is.
I actually did. Normally I don't look at reviews at all, but I did want to see, like, I wonder what people thought of this. So I looked at a couple of reviews and I saw some people complain that the dialogue was too fast. Now I did watch this on Netflix with subtitles. So I didn't have that same sense because I was able to read everything, so I didn't miss anything. The dialogue is hilarious.
It is really good.
There are a couple lines in this movie that are so clever and stupid and funny at the same time. I think it's just really witty dialogue. There are a lot of references, but I think they're pretty, most part, like timeless references.
Yeah.
To not like things that are super contemporary, but things that are like have already kind of lasted the time with the, well, I don't know what I'm trying to say, the test of time.
Yeah, a lot of the references are like old things anyway. Like they reference Hollow Man a few times, which I've never seen, but like if you get the title and Kevin Bacon and everything, it's fine. Like you don't really need to have seen it.
SpongeBob gets referenced a couple times.
Yeah, SpongeBob, which I understood each episode.
Yeah,
that he was talking.
Yeah, I was like, I know that part.
That's a good one. So yeah, most of it's not like TMNT last week where it felt like a lot of the references might date the movie some.
Yeah.
It's a lot more tried and true stuff, I think.
But yeah, it was just fun, goofy Scooby-Doo mystery, like, and just weird sci-fi things that just gets stranger and stranger with a couple of good like twists and turns in there that I think make it not only entertaining, but kind of like, oh, that's an interesting way of looking at this idea and kind of poses some questions. Now, does it completely get to the depths of something like maybe Get Out does so effectively? I don't know if it does it quite as well as like a Get Out does, but I do think this movie is very, very smart. And also very entertaining. And that's why I enjoyed it a lot. And it's one of my favorite movies of the year, I would say. For a movie that came out the weekend of Barbenheimer.
Yeah, got completely just like no one cared about it. Like really, it came out, it got some good reviews and everything, but Barbenheimer just stole the spotlight, overshadowed.
Absolutely, which is too bad because this is a really good Netflix movie. I'm trying to think of it's got to be the best one since The Irishman, right? Has there been a good one?
Probably. I'm trying to think what else has come out since then. Did Marriage Story come out in between? That was pretty good. I don't
think so. I think Marriage Story was before The Irishman.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm not sure.
There's so many Netflix movies that come out and are just like a dime a dozen, like whatever. Like, I mean,
I am assuming it is better than Heart of Stone.
I'm assuming that too, which got, I think, more marketing than this too, which is kind of unfortunate. But yeah, it's, occasionally they got a diamond in the rough. I think this is one.
I don't want to downplay though, like the performance in this movie, the performances of all three leads is phenomenal. Like
so good.
They are all so good. Their chemistry is great. I had so much fun rooting for them, following along with them in all these little shenanigans that are just goofy. like goofy Scooby-Doo stuff is all I can think of. But but fun and kind of these like social and class struggle things kind of like show up to in ways that are really creative and hilarious.
And I think those are probably the two places where it's most like Sorry to Bother You, because Sorry to Bother You is also a movie where it's just like a lot of weird situations happening, people getting into maybe not necessarily Scooby-Doo-esque, but a lot of just cartoonish weird things happening. And then of course it's all about social class struggles and all of that. So yeah, but also just the style is so fun. We didn't mention the music is very good. I think that's also goes into the blaxploitation influences because there's a lot of funk like and soul kind of influences. Apparently, the song during the credits is like. I'm not familiar with the original song, but like
Tyrone or whatever it was.
But yeah, like the original singer just like re-recorded it to like include references and stuff to like the movie and whatnot. So that's kind of cool. I think that's fun.
I agree. Great. I don't know if there's that much more we can say without really kind of spoiling things because it is a movie that I think the less you know about it, the more fun it is to just uncover the mystery with the gang.
Yeah, I totally agree.
So check it out on Netflix. 2 hours about, and I think you will really, really enjoy it. Again, I just came in with no expectations whatsoever, and I was really had a good time with this one.
I did too.
I was pleasantly
absolutely
surprised.
check it out. If I were to give it a rating, I'm probably at like 8.5. Probably 8.5, I think. Maybe even a 9. I'll go 8.5 for now, but
right.
very good.
Sweet. All right, let's dive into our spoiler review. Again, if you do not want to have this movie spoiled for you, look at the description down below or the time codes and skip ahead to our final segment. What are you doing? Otherwise, we're going to go into spoilers for They Cloned Tyrone right after this.
All right. Spoilers for They Cloned Tyrone, Jimmy. Where should we start with this?
Well, we can start at the beginning.
The beginning.
Let's start at the beginning. That's like a purred happily, right?
Yeah, purred happily from Parks and Rec.
And now, for a female perspective, we go to a woman. Stating the
It's
obvious.
pretty good.
I love the purred happily.
He's
bits.
so good.
But let's start at the beginning. All right. Just the oozing of creativity and the beauty of the production design. It very much captured that 70s aesthetic, but then it's just modern day.
Yeah, they've got cell phones and stuff. Like it doesn't hide that it's modern day, but it is funny just how they kind of just mesh it together, and it works. Like you don't really question it too much.
It's
like,
a movie that the setting works really well and the plot really works well, as long as you're not really thinking about it.
yeah.
Because you like start to, it's not really supposed to be airtight. It's just like it's goofy. It's just fun.
There's a lot of things you could poke holes in this movie. I think, especially like later on, but it doesn't really take away from anything.
No, I don't think it takes away from the experience. Really, it didn't
No.
for me, at least, watching it, because I'm like, I don't think you're supposed to take it that seriously.
Yeah.
All these little bits. But yeah, seeing John Boyega's character talking with little Junebug, talking about SpongeBob and I am not a Krusty Krab reference.
That was pretty funny.
But just establishing him as this drug dealer in this fictional neighborhood called the Glen, which was just a believable kind of little setting here. And
yeah, it never seemed like too big or anything, but you kind of go back and forth between a handful of settings here, and it felt like a very tight-knit setting. I don't know how big the area is actually supposed to be, but what city was it set in?
It's just fictional.
It's just
I
fictional?
thought
Okay.
I was trying to figure out. I'm like, is this somewhere supposed to be? It's just a fictional place.
Okay. I figured it was. I wasn't sure if it was just a neighborhood in a random city or not, but okay.
But it establishes the characters. Like you have, obviously you have the scene where he like runs over the one guy with the car.
Yeah.
breaks his leg or whatever, and then he has to go get his money from Slick Charles, right?
Slick
Charles, and then
Jamie
Yo-Yo
Foxx.
is what's the actress's name again?
Teyonah Parris.
Teyonah Parris. All right. Introducing us to their character, and then kind of Isaac comes, the other drug dealer comes and shoots John Boyega, and it kills him. I'm like, whoa, that stinks. I'm like, I was excited to watch John Boyega and the rest of this because I was really enjoying him so far. I thought he was doing a great job.
Yeah, but then it turns out he's not dead.
He's not dead. What's going on with that? And he goes, I already gave you the money and you just got shot.
I guess before we move on from the motel, two things. I think it was such a good introduction to Jamie Foxx's character because it feeds into what I was saying earlier about how like you see Jamie Foxx, you might expect one thing, and then he's pleading with John Boyega. He's like, no, like I need the money right now. I don't have it or whatever. And it's so funny, kind of him groveling. But then also the bit where like John Boyega gets shot and he's just like sitting in the car. He like tries to back out and then the car is blocking his way. And you can see him like contemplating like getting out the car with the gun. I thought that was great. That was so fun. And very surprising too, because it didn't go exactly how I expected.
Like a little psycho twist.
Yeah,
like,
really.
What's going on?
Yeah.
But then it starts to get weirder.
As John Boyega wakes up in bed and he's fine. He kind of remembers getting shot. He like feels his chest or whatever, and there's no bullet holes. But then he's just kind of shrugs it off, thinks it's a dream, probably.
Yeah, a bad dream. Yeah. Little does he know he's like a replicant.
Yeah.
But I just thought the whole premise of everything that happens was so creative, and how they start to kind of figure things out. Because what's the first clue they really get that. I mean, he goes back
to Slick Charles
Slick
to get
Charles,
the
and Slick
money.
Charles is like, "What the heck? You're not supposed to be here." So then they go to Yo-Yo, and she's like, "Yeah, you died, but I saw this." She saw somebody get picked up by this black car. Was that it?
No,
Or-
she saw the car leave, and I think John Boyega thinks it's the person that shot him, but in reality, it was like the group picking up his body and leaving.
That's right.
Because John Boyega had seen that same car pick up someone else in the neighborhood or whatever.
Yes.
So,
And then they go to the chicken restaurant,
yes.
which is goddamn.
Well, they
Right?
they go
Chicken.
to the facility first.
Oh, the facility. Yeah, the house. They
go to the
house, and they go down and
The elevator. There's
which is one of the great lines is when Jamie Foxx sees like the white powder, which he assumes is cocaine.
oh yeah, what was it?
he
says?
he licks it. He's like, "It ain't snow, but I can still ski in it,"
Yeah.
or something
That's
like
so
that.
good.
Which apparently is a line he made up that was
Oh
not
my
originally
God.
in the script, which
Good
I
Jamie
thought
Foxx line
was
Very
hilarious.
Yeah, no, they go down there and they're like, what is this? Jamie Foxx accidentally shoots the one guy because he's on the giggle drug thing.
Yeah.
It's just very weird. What is this facility? And then it ends with John Boyega finding his corpse, the body that died the night before. So we're all wondering what's happening. But then John Boyega goes back the next morning and like the place is the place is just like the house is a normal house. There's not the elevator. The break room they had found is completely gone.
Yeah.
It's like comically just cleaned up.
Yeah.
Like there's no way reasonably I don't think they could do this overnight, but I guess it's a good way of showing how much like power and control they have. Like,
Yeah.
being like able to exert the speed of this cleanup. But then, we get to the chicken restaurant.
Then we go like goddamn chicken, which another one of the great lines was the managers. He's like, everybody, work hard or whatever. There's no I in goddamn.
Oh, that's right.
That got me too. Which is probably something I'm going to say every time I eat Popeye's chicken from now on.
Yeah.
That's not the Popeye's bit. I'm saving the Popeye's bit for a little bit later in the spoiler review when we talk about another scene, which Popeye's chicken played a role. But
I like that whole their conversation at the table, and it like they start laughing and all of that, and it is weird because we like Fontaine, John Boyega's character, we haven't seen like exert really any positive emotions this entire movie. And he starts laughing. And at first I'm like, okay, he's just like laughing at the absurdity of the situation, which is what they think they're laughing at too. But then everyone in the whole restaurant is just like losing their minds, like laughing. And Slick Charles is the one that realizes it because he hadn't really eaten any of it yet. And both Yo-Yo and Fontaine are laughing. He's like, it's in the chicken.
the chicken. Yeah. The powder's the chicken.
And he was also he was the one who had the drug the night before too, so he knew what was happening in that regard. So
yeah, and you have little breadcrumbs throughout too, like with the music that comes up later when they're in the club, the strip club. Yeah. You have them when they listen to the music in the car and they're like, "This song always makes me so sleepy."
Yeah,
it's like, oh well, it seems very innocuous at first, but then it's like, oh no, these threads, it's like a little bit mind control and stuff. I love how it plays into like all the conspiracy theories of today too, like the fluoride in the water. And,
yeah, it's in there. So it plays into that. It plays into like the idea that whether you believe it or not, that like the government's like essentially making the slums and whatnot the way they are, like feeding drugs into it and everything. Like there's like all these conspiracies. It's just and it's just like everything is like true, and it's just.
Yeah,
it's pretty fun, I think.
But I also thought it was interesting. It almost is like like old, like the end of Old, and like kind of what happens there, but like without spoiling that movie, just like the idea of testing pharmaceuticals and stuff on this population. In a way that like nobody's going to notice because it's run down and nobody cares about this neighborhood. Yeah. And we literally created these replicants to basically keep the neighborhood this way and scare everybody else away for the greater good of uniting everybody in America and keeping it the United States.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Yeah. But it's really interesting how they go about that. And how they explain all of that. Gosh, I had a point I was going to add. I can't remember what it was, though. I don't know. You go on to your next bit.
So they also go to the church, which is another scene. That was another really funny scene. I don't remember what the preacher says, but then he's like, it's some specific situation. Is like, oh, my son, when this happened, this person gets shot outside the parking lot of the Dairy Queen or whatever. Yeah, it's whatever.
I go with the Lord or whatever.
Yeah, whatever it is. It's like all these very specific things. It's like, not a big deal. Just let out all this stuff, and we're not actually going to be upset about it.
Well, and before that, we mentioned Scooby-Doo situations. Just Jamie Foxx is in the van and then just gets trapped in the van. Like he's looking through the boxes, and then they're like, "Where did he go?" And he left the phone in their car. So
yeah, lots of little fun moments, and the Lord, Jesus always points the way, or whatever the frog.
Yeah,
was a great
the old
character.
guy outside the convenience store. Yeah.
Oh, can I get a little bit of that? Oh, can I get a little bit of that? And but the Lord always points the way, or whatever. And then Jesus is literally pointing all those little things that are funny. Again, goofy, but in a good way.
Apparently, so I watched this video that this featurette thing that Netflix released with the director, and he was pointing out little details that everyone misses or whatever. But apparently, the music has these, I don't know exactly what kind of tones they're called, but they're barely audible to the human ear. You can notice it if you listen for it, but the tones that play are playing Morse code messages in it.
Wow.
So it's kind of cool. And he was talking about how that was I think that was the sound designer's idea for it. So
that's neat.
Pretty cool.
That's a cool little touch there. I'm trying to again, this movie is kind of all over the place. I try to forget what happens when. But okay, they go to the strip club, right? Mm-hmm. And you have the scene. I think they mentioned Thriller or reference Thriller because all the guys are going after them this mob.
Oh yeah,
basically zombies. I thought that could have been a little goofier. I think they could have gone goofier with that, where you could have had maybe a little fun fight sequence or something. But I don't know. Maybe that's a little bit too.
It is a big
light,
mob of people.
Too light for some of the more dark themes that you're actually encroaching upon at this time.
Well, and before the nightclub, they discover all of the clones in the facility and everything.
That's right. Yep.
Yeah, and that's where they see that both Fontaine and Slick Charles are cloned because they're two of the people that can kind of push this this type of area. One, Fontaine's a drug dealer, Slick Charles is a pimp, so they can kind of make it less appealing to and essentially distract everyone from what's actually happening.
Yeah.
But Yo-Yo's just, and as they say, quote, a regular hoe.
Yeah.
That they don't need a clone. So she's the one that can't be affected by
the brainwashing.
What is it? What's the word? Black Olympia?
Something like that.
I think
something like that.
Black Olympia or something like that.
But yeah, no, I all that was a lot of fun, and yeah, Nixon is explaining all the whole concept and all that.
Yeah.
And then they're kind of resigned to just go back to their normal lives for a little bit, but that doesn't last long, obviously. No. Gotta fight back, and they gotta figure out a way to get into the facility, which I thought this was a really fun bit. Their plot to get back in.
Yeah, the plot to get back in was really fun. The whole act of them essentially storming the place with Isaac and his crew and everyone else that they recruit. That's where, to me, and I mean, you can make the parallels other places where it felt the most like They Live, because they do plan it out, but in They Live as well, it kind of feels like they just storm the place, and it, to a certain extent, it doesn't feel like there's a game plan once they get there, and it's just a mob of people going in. And They Live comparisons can also just be when they're uncovering the conspiracy throughout the movie. But I felt like that climactic sequence was very much akin to that movie. So
yeah, but that whole sequence where they break in, the whole plot to get Isaac to shoot him and play for Fontaine to play dead. So that whole sequence had to be reworked completely from what it was originally, because apparently Netflix is they told Joel, that the sequence made no sense. They're like, this is too convoluted and complicated. Audiences won't be able to follow it, so you need to re-edit it. So they said, you can reach out to other filmmakers to see if they want to re-edit this with you and get their opinion on it. So he came up with a list, and then the studio reached out to him, and there was one person who responded and said, "Yeah, I'll help you out," and it was, of course, Guillermo del Toro.
Oh, it was
really? He was just like the nicest person of all time.
He is.
And
give a Brokaw to Guillermo del Toro.
Honestly. Oh, that's a Bergeron. Here's a Brokaw to Guillermo del Toro, who was in the middle of Pinocchio post-production, apparently extremely busy. But he's like, yeah, oh, can you just watch this and show me some notes? And he's like, I will come in and help you edit. So they got together, and like literally like a whole 10-hour day, Guillermo del Toro was helping them out edit this sequence and come up with different ideas. And they said that Guillermo del Toro had this really, really good idea, but they just didn't have the footage to pull it off. So they kind of found this like kind of in between, and they still weren't able to finish editing it that day. But apparently like Guillermo del Toro, like even later on was like, oh, how's the edit going? Oh, like just checking up on him. And he's like, and Joel Taylor's like, why are you so nice? Just no compensation. I just want to help out,
Yeah, he just wants to help make a good movie. A good movie out there.
But apparently, while they were editing that day, here's the story. So Guillermo del Toro said, "I'm coming to the lab," and this is Joel Taylor's response. He said, "What?" So then he came to the lab. This is on The Hollywood Reporter. And he spent the whole day with us, literally 8 to 10 hours. It's really one of the craziest memories. And just for the sake of the story, we all ordered Popeye's fried chicken for lunch at the editing lab. He was like, I can't not order fried chicken. So we all ordered Popeye's just because it would be something stupid to tell people someday in the future. All right. So he was so generous with his time, and he's a genius. Obviously. So there's a little Popeye's fried chicken. Oh boy, this movie made me so hungry for
the
some
chicken
Popeye's
looked really
fried
good.
chicken. Oh.
Yeah, that's really funny. I mean, that's cool because I do think that climactic sequence is really, it's pulled off pretty well. I think they pulled it off with whatever footage they had, made it better with Guillermo del Toro, I guess. But
I love a good infiltration.
Yeah.
Like breaking into the Death Star, sneaking in there, sneaking into this base, which it's like production design wise kind of reminded me of Shape of Water a little bit. The
I
base
can see that. Yeah.
So a little funny Guillermo del Toro tie in there.
It's very silly too. It's a very silly sequence. Like people are just like, there's the one bit where the guy's talking on the phone like, yeah, I'm underground. Come on around. I'm underground.
I'm in the underground. No, like literally the underground.
And it's just like, it's not taking itself too seriously. People are just like, like they're beating everyone up and everything. It's very fun.
You have Chekhov's wig.
Yeah,
remark. That was a good bit.
That was so good. I was about to mention that earlier. That's one of my favorite like Chekhov's guns in recent memory, I think. Just
I totally forgot that she mentioned that.
Yeah, well, it was Slick Charles mentioned the wig, and she reacted like she didn't have a wig or something like that, and then it turns out she did. So that was very good. Mm-hmm. But then Fontaine fights Chester.
Yes,
Chester's the name of the clone.
Which shows like that's definitely a John Boyega clone the whole time. I'm like, right? He looks like him, and it was, yeah.
Yeah. And so they fight. He gets injured, but then he gets taken to the original Fontaine.
I am the original.
Yeah.
Which John Boyega did an exceptional job playing the original Fontaine very convincingly.
He looked a lot like Danny Glover to me.
He did.
That old age makeup. Just like modern day Danny Glover.
Yes.
But yeah, the makeup looked great. And as you said, he performed really well. It was really interesting hearing the backstory and like, obviously Fontaine has a lot of the memories. The brother who got killed was from original Fontaine. That's like a real thing, and that's like his driving motivation for helping out with this program.
A little Blade Runner 2049 in this respect, I think, without spoiling that movie,
Yeah, and like old Fontaine, he's like, oh, he can never truly understand what it was like with the brother and whatever. And I mean, sure, Fontaine never actually experienced it, but the memories are real to him. And also he has like Junebug, who is a real brother, like essentially to him. Even though he's still alive, but he does understand that kind of connection. So I think that's very short-sighted on old Fontaine's part.
Yeah, but yeah, so the whole conspiracy of this, the underground, is to figure out these products that are going to help control the American public, so we stay united as the United States.
Yeah.
Which is, I guess, is relevant because there's increasing division and whatnot. But keep everybody docile and behaved and peaceful, all right, without them realizing it. Of course, everybody, everybody is the sheeple kind of idea, the conspiracy theorist idea, and then original Fontaine is like, well, that's not going to work long term. The only way to make it work long term is if we're actually the same. And so his genetic kind of eugenics sort of thing is he's just going to over generations breed out the skin color from black people or in people of color, so that everybody will just be white. And he's like, this is a necessary step, which is just very, dark.
Yeah.
And I thought a very interesting concept to throw into this film, and kind of what pushed this guy to come to this conclusion that this is the only way to actually keep people united. It's almost saying like, are we bound to be torn apart because of our differences, and we will not be able to reconcile them? It's just an interesting question to ponder, and I thought it was just a cool concept that John Boyega's character, or John Boyega playing the character, was very convincing in that regard, or in that role of like him coming to the conclusion that was the only way to do it, and just how terrifying of a concept that is.
Yeah, his motivation kind of makes sense because of what he's experienced, and you can kind of see like where if
basically my brother wouldn't have gotten shot if he wasn't black.
Yeah, basically. But yeah, it's just like the means to the end is not, He
says, the line is assimilation is better than annihilation.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Which is
a good
which
line.
is very sad. It reminds you a lot of like the Native American experience too in the United States, of like it's basically assimilate or get annihilated. So yeah, it's just you as contemporary Americans, we would like to think that is no longer the case, that you don't need to necessarily assimilate completely to this white Western ideological way of living. And that there's this harmony, and we can live and understand each other and our cultures and respect that. But yeah, and then this John Boyega's the old Fontaine certainly doesn't seem to share that idea.
No,
but no, I thought it was just a really cool kind of conclusion.
Yeah.
And then obviously using Chester to manipulate and kill him.
Yeah, which. I don't know why that if I were to pick one thing, I'm like, I don't know why he wouldn't see that coming. Like, I guess probably old Fontaine doesn't know that he knows the code word or whatever. Yeah, so I guess that's probably the explanation.
Yeah. The one thing I wasn't sure quite logistically how Slick Charles got around the Nixon, the other guy, and shot him, because he was laying on the ground. Unless that was just a different Slick Charles, I was confused at how logistically that worked out.
I think what happened was he got one of the clones out and probably dressed him up in his clothes and whatever, and then essentially used it as a distraction to
get and he it just pushed him out there.
Yeah, I think that's what it was.
Okay, so. That makes sense. I'd missed something in there when that was playing out. But yeah, no, that was a lot of fun. And then we get to the final part of the movie. You have all the news clips and whatnot
of the clones coming out, and seemingly, the implication I think with the movie is just that they're just gonna have to get they're just going to join society. There's just going to be clones of people. like it's a very
they have no memories or knowledge of anything.
So like theoretically they'll become different people because like they're like personality wise and stuff. But yeah, there's just going to be people with the same face walking around.
Yeah.
So, but then the title of the movie finally comes in towards the end, which I thought was interesting.
I kept wondering, I'm like, who is Tyrone?
Yeah.
I'm like, who is Tyrone?
I was like, is Tyrone the old guy? No, Tyrone's not the old guy.
Yeah, I totally thought that Frog was going to be older John Boyega, which apparently wasn't the original idea. For the movie, that
interesting.
Tyrone, like the original Tyrone, was going to be the Frog character.
Okay. But yeah, then they go to I think it's Los Angeles. Yeah. It shows John Boyega's character kind of going about his day similar to how Fontaine did, but this guy's name is Tyrone. Mm-hmm. And they're watching the news clips and they see Fontaine on the news, and they're like, "What the heck?"
Are you Tyrone?
Yeah, they say that. Honestly, I thought I was expecting them to have one of the guys be like, "Hey, they cloned Tyrone."
Yeah,
that'd be a name. That was the last line of the movie. Yeah. I was expecting that. They didn't do it, but it was interesting.
Apparently, the trio are heading to Memphis, which seems like it's open for a sequel. But Joel Taylor said no, they're not doing one. If they said that if we did a sequel, it would be completely different.
Yeah, I feel like that's smart. I feel like, did all you need to do with these characters.
This concept. I'm not really sure where you would go from this.
Yeah, it feels like this world. I don't know, like another secret government thing, but what would it even be? I don't know. That's just not. Let's just leave it one and done. Yeah. It's good.
So yeah, they cloned Tyrone. Any final conclusive thoughts?
I don't think so. I really liked it.
Yeah, so I just thought it was hilarious.
I'm glad it is very funny. I'm glad I suggested it because I had heard good things and we had a gap week this week. So
I had heard nothing. This would have just completely slipped under the radar for me, and I'm glad it didn't because, like I said, it's one of my favorite movies of the year.
Nice.
So
I really liked it.
Awesome. They cloned Tyrone. Hopefully you've checked it out since you're listening to the spoiler review.
Yeah.
If not, go and watch it. Wipe your memory.
Yeah. Do not just forget everything we said.
Yeah, there you go. And then come back and listen to us again.
Yeah.
Speaking of listening to us, we're going to be talking one final segment when we talk about what we've been kind of playing, watching over the course of the week. That, of course, is the segment called What Are You Doing?
What are you doing? What are you doing? No, what are you doing? What are you doing? No, what are you doing? What are you doing?
All right, Jimmy. This week, it's kind of funny that we talked about Sorry to Bother You and all that. I watched all of I'm a Virgo on Amazon Prime, which I didn't think I was going to be able to watch all of it, but it's only 7 episodes. Each are like under 30 minutes. So it's really pretty short. It's really good. I really, really liked it. It's, very similar tone to Sorry to Bother You. I feel like honestly, it's like Sorry to Bother You almost cranked up a little bit, both in terms of style and like commentary and stuff. It has a lot to say in a very short amount of time, which is probably my biggest complaint. I feel like they could have used another episode or two at least. There's a lot condensed in there. The special effects are great. It's very funny, very sad at times. The forced perspective they used on the giant guy is really good, but like there's some like bits where like there's like very obvious wire work being used, and I think it just adds to the style. It's very funny. It's great. And that's just another thing that I think is going completely under the radar. So if you've seen Sorry to Bother You and you liked it, I think you should watch it. It's not much of a time sink at all. So
there you go.
Very good. I also started, because new season started and I was interested, was Only Murders in the Building.
I've heard good things, yeah.
Yeah, I'm only a couple episodes in so far, but it's pretty funny. I quite like the dynamic between Steve Martin, Martin Short, and Selena Gomez. It's a good trio for the leads. And it's very interesting, a very interesting concept for a murder mystery. And it's part comedy too, of course, with those actors. So very funny. Yeah, I'm enjoying it. And apparently, I from what I understand, I think it like gets better as it goes too. Like the new season has like Paul Rudd and Meryl Streep in it as like main characters. Very interesting cast. So, yeah, enjoying that. But other than that, I finished Ghostwire Tokyo. It was a lot of fun. I thought the ending was honestly pretty strong. I thought in terms of the story, it probably was better towards the end. But did that. I started Sackboy: A New Adventure. Big Adventure. I did that because I had gotten it like a year ago.
Is that
for
a
like
It was
it was like
PS3?
launch PS5, so it's on both.
Okay.
I think the PS4 version, but I just did the upgrade. I'm playing it, or I have it because I got it for like $5 a year ago, like just a physical version of it for $5. And I was like, I just played Ghostwire. I'll play something a little bit lighter. It's pretty fun. I think it's, it looks great. I mean, it's a launch title for PS5, so they're showcasing a lot with it and whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a very fun game. It's very similar to, if any listeners have played Super Mario 3D World on the Wii U or Switch, gameplay wise is very similar to that, but very creative with how it uses like crafts and everything for its world building and all of that. Visually very fun. Liking it so far. Yeah, I think that's about it, Jimmy. What about you? What have you been doing?
Oh, just chipping away at Horizon Forbidden West, pretty much. That
Nice.
game. I am only like halfway done, and I'm like 40 hours in.
Yeah, it is a long game.
And I go do these side things, and they're good.
Yeah.
What the heck? Your side quests aren't supposed to be very good, and they are. And I'm like, well, that was worthwhile, and now I got to do more of those. So what the heck? I was just going to play the main story. In the last like 10 hours, I've played like 1 hour of the main story. I still think it's hilarious how many dialogue options there are. Like, absurd.
Yeah, it just does not need to be that many.
And it is just like the most dense plot of all time. Of like, you're going to get the sub AI and do this, and this AI was used for this and this and that and this and that. And I'm like, it's all interesting, but
Yeah.
was there no way to like condense this
Streamline it a bit.
streamline it, that sort of thing? But honestly, very fun, and I've enjoyed it quite a bit. I did finally get to the San Francisco area, and oh my gosh, the without saying anything about it, the part where they go to the Transamerica Pyramid, and it's like Ted Faro related.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That part was incredible.
Yeah,
I was like,
that was
I
really
was like,
good.
this. I'm like, I think this part's gonna be pretty good. Like, there's something enough to be pretty good, and it exceeded my expectations.
That was really good. Yeah.
And just like this Horizon, like some of the reveals they have in those first two games are pretty amazing, kind of twists and turns. Some of my favorite in really anything of any medium. So I had a lot of fun with that whole kind of sub storyline that goes on there, because you're like, there's going to be like some little arc that goes on in this environment, because the environmental storytelling of those games is so good. And boy, did it deliver. And it was great, and I really enjoyed that. So that was a lot of fun. So yeah, Horizon Forbidden West, a really good game that I really was not excited to start playing. But
I'm glad you're enjoying it,
because I have PS Plus Extra now, and now I'm really enjoying it, and I can't play any other games. I still haven't finished Resident Evil 8 because of you. Stinking one of the great games I've played in VR, amazing experience. And then this game comes along, and now I got to play it. So there we go. I think that's pretty much it, Holden. So next week, Blue Beetle.
Long-awaited Blue Beetle.
Thank goodness.
Finally, it's time to talk
Put the
Blue Beetle.
DCEU to bed.
And
I
start the
technically part of-
DCU.
Technically,
Yeah.
I mean, who cares? It's not going to be relevant, I don't think.
No, we'll see how it is. I can't imagine it's going to be anything above mediocre. That's my prediction. I want to be wrong.
I have the
I wanna be
lowest of
wrong.
expectations. My expectations could not be lower.
Well, maybe you will be surprised by it. I don't know. We'll see.
It literally cannot be worse than I'm expecting it to be, I don't think. So I'll probably be like, it was fine.
yeah, Blue Beetle next week. If you want to leave us a request, you can do so by leaving us a 5-star review on iTunes or email us at tomppodcast@gmail.com or donate to our Patreon. I believe that's it, Jimmy.
Sweet. Until next time, then. Adios, pantalones.
Love you.